Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome here as we get ready to go dirt track racing under the lights for race number 8 of the TNR Master Millwright Big Block Series. Closing in towards the end of this season as we are now 2 races into the second half of this schedule and getting ready to go racing here tonight at Cedar Lake Speedway. I'm Seth Cole alongside of Matthew Rodriguez. And Matt, not only do we have a very technical track here tonight, we've got possibly the biggest field to date. 19 drivers will take the green flag here in this evening's festivities.
Absolutely, and easily one of our oddest tracks to date, having a pond or almost a lake in the middle of it.
Nice little fountain there as well, and hopefully not going to be a distraction for the drivers, but adds to the ambience here for the fans. As on the pole for our first heat tonight, Bobby Trapper, your points leader, 3-time winner coming into this season. Alongside of him, Josh Gerlach in the 071. Last week's winner is going to be Don MacArthur rolling up on the inside of row 2 with Zane Burke Jr. to the outside. Nicholas Chambrone will be in the 01 rolling off from 5th. Kenneth Drake, former winner, in 6th. And Mike Tellier going to roll off 7th in the first heat as the green flag is out.
I'm seeing Gerlach really come up that outside, but Trapper has at least a pull on the bottom here.
Time being, Trapper opens up maybe half a car length back to Don MacArthur. Battle's going to be for 3rd place. That's going to be between Chambrone and Gerlach. Gerlach, it's the start. It's lost 2 positions, and he's actually going to get a piece of the wall there. That's something we're going to be saying, I think, a lot here tonight, because it seems like at most tracks, you have a little bit of space coming off of turns 2 and 4. Here at Cedar Lake, the track narrows up quite a bit, and right there it narrowed up with contact between Chambrone and Don MacArthur, but they managed to keep it straight.
You know, I want to go ahead and pull your attention over here to Kenneth Drake, and it's kind of worth noting here that Kenneth Drake actually was debating not even showing up because he was having sinus issues and losing his voice, but he actually managed to come here, and look at this. He's in 2nd place trying to track down Trapper.
Of course, the situation he's in the point standing, 2nd overall, 49 points back. Really right now, with only 4 races after tonight left on the schedule, the only driver that might be within striking distance of maybe taking this championship away from Bobby Trapper. Kenneth Drake looking for his 3rd win on the season to tie Trapper for most wins on the year.
And it's worth it kind of go a little bit through the field here, where we kind of got a few new names. Nicholas Chambrone, he's one of those new guys here where he's kind of carried some speed here in practice. I've kind of got some high expectations for him in the race. Don't know if he can kind of match those, but I'm looking over here. Mike Tellier, definitely nice to have Tellier back, as you've seen in many of other of the TNR series. He's trying his hand at dirt racing tonight. Don MacArthur and Zane Burke. Zane Burke's one of those new guys who is making their kind of debut tonight. Kind of looking for a little bit of luck. Didn't have it here in the heat, it looks like.
Josh Gerlach, look at the inside here of Kenneth Drake. He's making his 2nd start on the season. I'm going to quickly look back, see where he made his debut on the year, and that was back at Lanier. I believe that was actually the season opener, if I'm not mistaken. So making his 2nd start as the final lap is underway. And now taking and completing that final lap is Bobby Trapper. So Trapper wins. He'll get himself the valuable heat points. Kenneth Drake just behind him. So 5 points to Trapper, 4 points to Kenneth Drake. Josh Gerlach, Nicholas Chambrone, and Don MacArthur will get heat points here as well. However, Trapper and Drake, yeah, they got good points here in this heat, but you finish well in these heats, usually you're going to have to make your way through quite a bit of traffic in the main event.
See, this is always the internal debate, and here's the thing. I personally feel that Trapper and Kenneth Drake don't really have this ability to say, hey, I don't want to go for these points. Let me go ahead and I'm going to take a kind of a farther back heat finish so I can get a better starting position. But some of these new guys, I mean, they kind of have that position where, listen, if I'm right on the cusp of one of those kind of points paying positions, I kind of want to stay a little bit back so I don't get inverted. I'd prefer to stay up and near the front of the field.
I agree with you for sure, especially with how tight this racetrack seems to be with side-by-side racing, with what we just saw there, the contact in that first heat. No wrecks, but definitely a lot of sheet metal exchange. Want to go back and really quickly amend one of the statements. I said Lanier was the season opener, actually was race number 4. So that was when we end up having the debut of Josh Gerlach. In that second heat, Tony Lucarelli, who really seems to get the benefit of the draws here with good starting track positions in the heats. He'll be alongside of David Harvey, Brian Rubel, and debuting Kevin Stockrider in the 102, roll off in row 2. Tristan Mayer is making his first start of the season as well. He'll pilot the 177 on the inside of Thomas Oleski. 6 drivers here in the second heat, 10 more laps, green flags out, and a rather bunched up start.
I kind of want to point a little bit of light on it, as it looks like Oleski gets sent up the hill a little bit, but David Harvey's been kind of one of our guys who've really been improving ever since season start. Whenever we started the season, he was kind of finishing outside the top 15, and the past 4 races, it has just been consistent top 10s.
David Harvey last week actually put on a really good show, spending quite a bit of time out in front at Lernerville, led 14 laps of that race. Now, he got involved in some late race contact, which had to finish back in the 9th position. So with the fact that he comes into this race overall currently 9th in the point standings, it's not really a clear indication of just how good he's been during the course of the season. His trouble's just been closing it out with where he's been running most of the entirety of the main event.
And that's the thing where, some guys just wish for any kind of luck, and unfortunately, we get his bad luck. He just kind of hoped for that good run, at least just to get his foot on the ground where, yeah, good top 10s are great, but hey, a top 5 can kind of change momentums. Look how Oleski put on looking like the 55. Doesn't show on my screen, but it's Kevin Sockrider.
You're right, that is the 55 visually. On our telemetry, it's showing as the 102, debuting Kevin Sockrider. And it's interesting, too, because in this race, as Oleski's going to get the wall there off of turn 2 on the back straightaway, we've got nobody inside the top 5 in the standings in this heat. We do, however, have 6th through 9th with Rubel, Lucarelli, Oleski, and Harvey. So you got some drivers here that are battling amongst each other for spots in the latter half of the top 10 of the standings.
That's just kind of looking through the field. There's a lot of new names here where, yes, they do end up racing almost every week, but a lot of these guys are in a new position where it seems like kind of just Cedar Lake is kind of opened up I'm trying to remember what track it was early in the season. I believe it was Weed Sport that kind of gave us an opportunity to see a lot of guys that we just normally don't see up here.
That's the thing, too. We really haven't talked about it, but it bears mentioning. With so many drivers in the field here tonight, 19 in total as we are on the white flag lap here for David Harvey, it's going to be very likely, let's say that a couple of our top 5 run into issues here tonight and a couple of our top 5 do well, the point swings could be massive.
Extremely. And here's the thing. You got to keep in the back of your head that Trapper, when we interviewed him last week, he really kind of stated that, hey, these next tracks coming up, they're really my tracks that I'm looking at to kind of make a difference, to really kind of extend my points lead. And Kenneth Drake, when we kind of asked him about it, he was kind of iffy about it and said, hey, I'll take it week to week, but, I hope for the best. That's kind of 2 different confidence levels coming into this race. So that's kind of what I'm going to be staring at here where, listen, Trapper's coming in with all the confidence in the world, and he has a good cushion right now where he can afford to take some risk. But Kenneth Drake, he has to be perfect from now to the end of the season. Just hope that Trapper kind of has a little bit of a slip up and Kenneth Drake kind of has a little bit of a resurgence, kind of win some races here.
Well, Trapper got himself a heat win back in Heat 1, Drake finishing 2nd place to him. And yeah, the thing that Trapper said to us was he likes the smaller short tracks. This track, 375 miles in length, so under a half mile. We've gone to a couple of tracks that have been about a half mile in length, some about maybe 3/4 of a length, of a mile in length, I should say. And so he likes the lower banked, shorter tracks. And of course, here tonight at Cedar Lake, this is one that would fit into that criteria. Bobby Puckett will be the pole sitter here for this 3rd heat. Another driver, very much like Lucarelli that I talked about back in the 2nd heat, that's benefited with good starting track position in the heat races. Jason Freeman to his outside as green flag flies. Ethan Fisher makes his debut here tonight alongside another debuting driver in Seth Zacharias. They were row 2, and then Billy Thornton and Robert Quinto, in the 123, also making his debut. So I feel like I'm saying the word debut a lot here tonight.
Easily so, but, it's kind of worth it that we kind of shine a little bit of a light on Jason Freeman, because really what's allowed Trapper to kind of be so kind of well set as he is right now is how much bonus points and how many stage or heat points that he's managed to grab early on in the season. And right now, the only person with, not including this race, that is even within kind of a stone throws distance of him has to be Jason Freeman. Jason Freeman currently has 30 bonus points as opposed to Bobby Trapper's 31 bonus points. So it's kind of noted where if Jason Freeman didn't really have as many bad runs as he had this season or bad luck, I mean, he could be right up there really contending for his championship.
I'll tell you one thing that is going on right now with Jason Freeman. He is smiling in that race car, not because he's running third, but that he goes onto the back straightaway, looks to his right, and there's a wall there. Because last week when we were at Lernerville, there was no wall, and he visited the outfield of the racetrack a couple of times in not only his heat race, but in the main event.
See, that's the thing where Freeman really has speed, but he's kind of one of those guys that, hey, I mean, either bring me the trophy or bring me the steering wheel, and unfortunately in the last few weeks it has just been steering wheels being brought back.
But Ethan Fisher working the inside line, reeling in Bobby Puckett. We could have a battle here in the final 3 laps of this heat to see who's going to be able to pick up those valuable 5 heat points, and Fisher making his debut. I mean, not only is it an opportunity for drivers that have already been here week after week to be able to, do those point swings we were talking about and gain points or lose points on their competitors, but it's an opportunity here for drivers that are debuting tonight to showcase their stuff and to say, hey, you know what, I may not be battling for the championship, but I'm certainly going to be in the conversation for one of these wins down the home stretch.
I mean, here's the thing. There's kind of on the both sides of the spectrum where if you're a driver that's ran in the series ever since the beginning, you don't want to get shown up by a new guy. You want to say, hey, there's a reason I've been here the longest, and that's because I know what I'm doing. I mean, obviously, if you're a new guy coming in, that's kind of the thing where you need to kind of scare some of these guys like kind of Trapper and Kenneth Drake a little bit, saying, hey, if I was here from the beginning, you wouldn't be winning this championship right now. Just kind of get that in their head for next season.
Well, Ethan Fisher gave it a heck of a try right there. He got to within 0.2 of a second of Bobby Puckett for that heat win, but Puckett is going to take the checkered flag and be the winner of the third and final heat. That's going to set up our starting lineup for tonight's event. Jason Freeman is going to be starting on point. He'll be alongside of Brian Rubel, Josh Gerlach, and our second place finisher, I should say, back in the third heat, Ethan Fisher will make up row 2. Tony Lucarelli, and second in points, Kenneth Drake in row 3. Row 4 is where we're going to find Bobby Puckett, our Heat 3 winner. David Harvey will line up alongside of him in 8th. Bobby Trapper, our Heat 1 winner in 9th, with Nicholas Chambrone in 10th. Thomas Oleski and Billy Thornton, they'll make up row 6. Row 7 finds last week's winner Don MacArthur and Kevin Sockreiter. Row 8 will be Seth Zacharias and Zane Burke Jr. Row 9, Tristan Mayer and Robert Giaquinto. And then Mike Tellier going to bring up the rear in the 19th position. 35 green flag laps here tonight for these drivers. Big field, tight track. How much green flag racing will we see? How many cautions will we see? We've had some relatively fast races here in the last couple of weeks. We'll have to see if the added numbers into the field here tonight might lead for a little bit more pacing than racing.
So, I mean, Seth, who you want to cast the commentator's curse on this week? I mean, obviously, I've kind of got my eyes on Jason Freeman. He has not won yet this season, but he's come oh so close. So I'd be really looking forward to him seeing him try to get that first win here tonight.
All right, you know what? Give me a debuting driver. I'll go with Ethan Fisher. I like the way he was hooking the bottom back in his heat. He's going to be rolling off with a good starting spot inside the top 5. So give me one of the debuting drivers here tonight to get their first win.
Oh, man, look there. 4 wide back there. Looks like Trapper got hit in the back bumper a little bit. Everyone still stays straight, almost 3 wide.
Oh, my goodness. Was that Bobby Puckett that got jacked up in the air?
Rubel's up.
And caution's going to fly.
Well, that was 4 corners already.
Yeah. Was Kenneth Drake involved in that?
Really? Yeah, it does look like... I don't actually know.
No, he was not. No, I'm sorry. My telemetry's messing up here. It was just the 4 of Brian Rubel.
Realistically, what looks like happened is, and this probably will be an issue all night, where it looks like space is extremely at a premium here. Where, I mean, just look at this. I mean, everyone's entering turn 3, and everyone's just jockeying for position. Rubel gets a little bit, just a little tap on the wall. Kind of slows him down just enough to get the 72 of Ethan Fisher right behind him, just nowhere to go, pops him up the track. But here's the thing, look at the guys behind him. They're almost 4 stack behind. There is nowhere for them to go, and they just stock up the entire top line.
For Brian Rubel, we're going to go back and look at this. He got hit 3 times from the course of turn 2 down to turn 3. First, he's going to get doored by Jason Freeman. Then he's going to get hit from behind by Tony Lucarelli and then kind of finished off by the 72 of Ethan Fisher. So a tough break there. The driver of the 4 who started in the outside the front row. And to be perfectly honest, with how stacked up they were there, almost 3 wide and maybe 2-3 rows deep, I'm surprised we didn't have more drivers involved.
You know, I'm looking at that modified. And that modified still looks pretty good. I think it should be Master Millwright tough modifieds.
Green flag back in the air. Jason Freeman getting us back underway. Someone just got the wall. It was Josh Gerlach, I think. The right front, when it hits the wall at certain tracks, and especially here tonight at Cedar Lake, it wants to pop that
Harvey
up in the air like a wheeler.
Got turned.
Got a spinner. That was, I think, Tristan Mayer in the 177 that might have been the one that went around.
No, it was David Harvey in the 17. He got a little bit of assistance from Nick Chambrone there. And that's the thing. I mean, they were going into these corners 3-4 wide, and there's just not enough room here.
Well, so far, only 3 laps run under green flag conditions. Here it was again, and this was a 4-wide situation that then settled out to double wide, but not before contact, as you mentioned there, into turn 3, and not a whole lot of room for these drivers. I mean, you and I, we were talking pre-broadcast. You were mentioning about the fact that really there's only 2 lines you can run here without spinning somebody out, and these drivers testing the limits of that here tonight.
I mean, we were talking in pre-race. I really said that only 2 cars can really make it through these corners without very much incident, but I've seen them stuff about 3-4 wide without too much trouble. But I got to think, you really can't be testing the limits that much.
Of the 2 drivers that have brought out the first 2 cautions, Brian Rubel and David Harvey, neither have come to pit road, so both cars apparently able to continue, no suspension damage. That's good news for both of them. The driver that's been back in the middle of all of this, you were talking about it, Bobby Trapper, hitting those valuable heat points, but putting himself back in the eye of the storm, if you will. Like, he's been able to work his way now up to the back bumper of Kenneth Drake. They're right now 5th and 6th on this restart as Jason Freeman gets us back under the green flag. He'll leave the battle for second between Josh Gerlach and the 071, Ethan Fisher in the 72. We got a flipper. That's Lucarelli. And I think that car may actually still be on its roof, and it will come back on all 4 wheels, fortunately.
I'm going to tell you, that 41 and the 22, they were flipping. That had to be one of the slowest flips I have ever seen.
That was the race leaders actually going around the 41, so fortunate that the caution was out, or else we could have ended up having some of our front runners involved. And you're right, it was a stack up for sure. We
might need to take it on board with Brian Rubel, because I think he may have driven through this entire thing without getting any damage.
The 123 there of Giaquinto, he spun the thing around to make sure he didn't hit anybody. There's Oleski in the 22, and we'll do what you were talking about right there. We'll take an onboard right in the driver's seat of one Brian Rubel, see what he was able to see from inside of the 4 machine. There's the contact, there's the wreck.
Man, he just drives right on through there.
Man, oh man.
No fear. No fear.
It's called wheeling it.
Well, I guess maybe that is called no fear or just driving with terror.
Sometimes it equals out to the same thing when you're dirt track racing. Sometimes you go through a wreck and then you kind of look back at that through your memory and they're like, wait, how did I just do that?
You can race with a cougar in the car. Maybe make it go faster.
Jason Freeman, he's enjoying these pacing laps, at least for the time being, because he continues to stay out in front. But remember, each lap that he does under pacing does not go towards the 35 laps these drivers have to run here tonight. Only 4 laps have been run under green flag conditions, still 31 to go when they come around to receive this next green flag. Josh Gerlach will lap to his outside, and Freeman's been good here on the restarts. Give him that. He's been able to clear 2nd and 3rd place and leave them battling, and been able to open us up anywhere from 1 to 2 car lengths by the time they get to turn 2.
I mean, you got to look back in the field here and see some of these guys who have not really been able to make that great of moves. I mean, just kind of look where Trapper is here at the moment. Trapper's back in 11th. He was one who won his heat. And he is usually one of those guys that relies on this race being so clean to really drive up through the field. This has to really be resetting his strategy here a little bit.
They were almost 4 wide up ahead of him. Bobby Puckett was in that vicinity along with Kenneth Drake. They were leaning on each other. Last week's winner, Don MacArthur, right there. Woo! Seth Zacharias getting a little loose there. The right front wasn't even touching the ground off of turn 2.
There's just so much action going on around the track where, I mean, small things can kind of get overlooked, where I saw Kenneth Drake going from 4th place all the way to 7th just because he missed a turn, and he got freight trained in the 2 lanes in the bottom of the track, and that just shows you how easily, if you mess up one of these corners, you can just get passed by so many cars, and look at how long it's taking some of these guys to really kind of work their way back up.
Hustling his way through the middle is Don MacArthur. That's Nicholas Chambrone to the inside, I do believe. Josh Gerlach on the outside. Now the 116 gets clear to the top. You know, another thing, too, we look at the fact you mentioned Drake was falling back. Bobby Trapper fell back to 10th. With so many drivers on the track and not a whole lot of options right now, all 3, well, let's call it a spade, 4 lanes, because they've been able to make that work, all being used. So things get kind of wadded up in terms of the options you have going into the corner. You've got about a 75% chance that someone's going to be running the line you want to run.
I mean, look at Trapper's normal strategy, where usually he goes where other people aren't, but here's the thing, with 20 people on this small 0.38 mile track, there is nowhere for them to go.
We got a couple of drivers that might have had some incidents happen that didn't bring out a yellow because they were on pit lane. Zane Bird Jr. has been on pit road for the last 9 laps. Robert Giaquinto came to pit road 5 laps ago, and Mike Tellier just came to pit road 2 laps ago. So all those drivers off the lead lap. 16 still out there running and on the same lap as leader Jason Freeman, who's under fire. Josh Gerlach behind him, Ethan Fisher underneath him.
I'm just seeing a lot of these. Oh, Rubel gets turned by Harvey. Harvey's around.
And caution will fly. David Harvey along with Tristan Mayer, 2 of them together over there in the middle of 3 and 4. Bring out our 4th caution of the night. 21 laps will remain when we go back under the green flag. Let's go back to turn 3.
And it really was, I've kind of been noticing these last few laps, and I haven't mentioned it just yet, but if you notice, Harvey's running that high line, and I've been noticing a lot of drivers really running up there and getting an amazing run off the corner, where the middle line kind of has to come up a little bit and try to stifle their run. And that's worked well thus far. I have seen Kenneth Drake get run in the back of by, I believe it was the 55 earlier on for doing that same thing, but it looks like kind of the same thing here, where just a difference in speed. Rubel tries to come up to block a little bit, and it may have been Rubel was trying to give the 11 just a tad bit more room there on the bottom. Maybe Billy Thornton maybe he was worried about him sliding back up.
Could very well be. I called Tristan Mayer involved in the wreck. That was not so. After the contact between himself and Brian Rubel, David Harvey's car actually disappeared and reappeared partially in the 177. So I thought that the 177 Mayer was involved. He was not, did not sustain any damage, so he is good to go. Those 3 drivers I mentioned, they still sit on pit road. So 16 drivers on the lead lap when we go back green. David Harvey did not come down pit lane here under this caution period. So Freeman, who's been really good on the restarts, but was being reeled in there towards the end of that last run, he's going to get us back underway. Josh Gerlach to his outside. Let's see if they start fanning out 3 and 4 wide again as they're all wadded up.
Now, it's worth noting for some of the newer viewers, if you may be wondering what happens at the end of these cautions, well, whoever was deemed at fault for the caution, whoever the admins feel or the officials feel like they're at fault, they do get an end-of-line penalty, but you're not held a lap or anything. They just get sent to the end of line, so they're kind of forced to go through this giant traffic jam again to try to get their spot back.
Somebody got the wall pretty good back there. I think it might have been Brian Rubel, but I'm not 100% certain. We got a spinner. That is the 40. Oh, and now he just got clobbered into the outside wall. Somebody else went up there with him. Might have been Billy Thornton in the 11. Caution's going to fly again. There were about 4 or 5 cars that went straight up into the outside wall trying to avoid that and picked the wrong lane.
What it looks like it would kind of happen between Kenneth Drake and looks like the 40 of Bobby Puckett. And those are kind of 2 drivers that really don't need to have this kind of race right now and really need to keep their nose clean. But it looks like Drake really got a great run out of 4, and that's what we've been talking about how that high line's getting such a great run and that bottom lanes are really having to come up to try and block it. I mean, it looks like Kenneth Drake really didn't even lift for Puckett. Puckett kind of slid right in front and Drake didn't lift.
The car that went up and over was the 11 of Billy Thornton. Trying to identify who that other machine is that was involved in this wreck.
Be the 55 of Kevin Sockrider, I believe.
So about a 4-5 car pile up there in the middle of 3 and 4. Thornton, fortunately, his car comes back down on all 4 wheels, but obviously quite the worst for wear. Like David Harvey may have taken his car back to the garage area. Either that or he's continuing to deal with the internet connection issues we saw him have back when he had the contact between himself and Rubel for our 4th yellow flag.
And again, we're just going to go ahead and nail home. I mean, look at Bobby Trapper. Trapper, who was one who was looking forward to this track, he is stuck back in 8th of all this traffic. I mean, you got to be wondering, that's kind of taking an effect on him, but you got to be wondering with him and Kenneth Drake, if Kenneth Drake's kind of seeing this as an opportunity.
Well, Kenneth Drake and Bob, got a car riding the wall. I think that might have been the 55 again of Sockrider, and we've got one up and over. That is Sockrider. Might have flipped over off the nose of Lucarelli.
That's the thing. It looks like Sockrider was trying to take the 17. Actually, well, it looks like he has a 17 on the side of the car, but it would be the 7 of Seth Zacharias. Kind of ran him a little bit high in the corner, just clipped the right rear just a little bit, sent him up the hill, and when he was trying to save it, caught the wall, and when you catch that wall, it just whips the car around so fast, and you can't get out of the gas fast enough, and just really sends you flipping.
But the way that these cars are built, those right side tires are very much so exposed outside of the chassis, and it just seems like here tonight at Cedar Lake, you make contact with that outside wall, whether it be in the corners or off the straightaways. We've seen it on the back straightaway, how the tires kind of grip that wall and will actually make the car go airborne. I mean, the 55 almost looked like he was riding up the wall before Lucarelli even got to him.
You know, I've kind of got to be wondering about Jason Freeman here. I mean, I wonder what he's thinking. I mean, obviously, yeah, it's great that so many cautions come out and kind of helped you protect this lead a little bit. But, I mean, it really makes you kind of worried that, hey, if I get a long run, I mean, am I going to get another caution that kind of falls in my favor, or am I going to get kind of, I wouldn't want to say carried, but at least assisted to kind of keeping the lead?
The thing I'd be worried about is a driver that's consistently picked up a couple of spots every restart is the guy that's going to start alongside of him, Don MacArthur. MacArthur trying to join Kenneth Drake and Bobby Trapper as a multi-time winner this season. And while he's not really in the championship picture, he's trying to finish out the year with as many trips to victory lane as possible.
You know, kind of mentioning about Don MacArthur, I mean, he has kind of turned it on these last few weeks. Obviously, he won last week, and just kind of his consistency over those last few weeks has just been really impressive.
Green flag back in the air. They were almost 3 wide there for the 2nd position. I think that was Chambrone that was up in the 3rd lane.
And like he's now going to... got the wall a little bit. They all keep it straight.
Are way up the track up ahead. I think that was Kenneth Drake almost getting to the outside wall. Oh, Zacharias did get the wall big time that time. And he got run into the back of by Bobby Puckett. Now he's almost into the back of Thornton. They're still exchanging contact back here between the 7, the 55, and the 40. And Zacharias going to visit the wall.
And Puckett and Zacharias were really just pinballs there. They had no option. Oh, look at Don MacArthur.
Makes the move to the inside. First time another driver's been alongside Jason Freeman tonight, unless it's been under the caution. And whoa, what a move. Did you see him slot right in front of Nicholas Chambrone there? He could have either taken himself and Freeman out or himself in the 0-1.
See, normally I'd kind of criticize that type of move, but I understand what MacArthur's doing. We're just seeing the runs that Hindsight is getting right now. It really is kind of vital that he stays up there and doesn't lose his spot in line, or he's going to really be shuffled back.
We got one driver, as everybody, for the most part, migrated up to the top side. I think it was Kenneth Drake was trying to make the inside line work all by his lonesome. Now he's gotten alongside Bobby Trapper.
Don MacArthur kind of body slammed Ethan Fisher there. He knocked him back a little bit. Right now it's Nicholas Chambone and Jason Freeman. And really, Chambone managed to pass Freeman. He's trying to pull away here.
Just 25 laps, but new race leader and trying to win in his debut race here tonight in the Master Millwright Big Block Series. Nicholas Chambrone looks back, sees Jason Freeman. Behind them, Bobby Trapper's done a good job here on this restart, working his way up, and caution flies. It's Kenneth Drake.
And that's not what he needed to try and catch up here in points.
Definitely not. He's at least been in the same neighborhood as Bobby Trapper the entirety of this main event. This one, with only a handful of laps left, might put him behind the proverbial 8 ball, and like he got a
Honestly,
little help from maybe 2 drivers here in 3 and 4.
this really looks like Brian Rubel was coming up the track, kind of gave the 22 of Oleski, who has gotten that really good run off the high side. And Oleski looks like he may have been trying to save the car a little bit, maybe not so solid. And when he finally saved the car, he looked right in front of him and realized that Kenneth Drake was there, and Drake slowed down more for the corner than he expected and just cleaned them out.
You saw right there as well, the 29 of Zane Burke Jr. trying to come to a stop, made a little bit of contact into the right rear area of Kenneth Drake. Here's an onboard with Brian Rubel, and to be honest, riding on board there with Rubel, I think the 22 got the 71 from behind. 71 was already spinning by the time Rubel got to him.
Then I wondered maybe he just took the corner a little bit too aggressively, hoping to maybe gain some time on that bottom line, and it just didn't work out for him. So going back to single file restarts here at the moment.
Green flag gonna fly with 9 laps remaining. Nicholas Chambrone, Jason Freeman, Don MacArthur. That is your top 3. How about your debut drivers here tonight, though? 3 of them up inside of the top 5, and I say that just before Bobby Trapper challenges Josh Gerlach for 5th place.
I'm really seeing Don MacArthur trying to work that middle lane a little bit, but just they don't have the grip that top lane has. That top lane has really come to life here in the last few laps.
Arthur now to the inside of Jason Freeman for 2nd place. Not going to be able to make that work. Trapper having difficulty in that pass for 5th back there. Josh Gerlach with the preferred outside line, as the gap right now about 3 car lengths from Chambrone back to Freeman MacArthur, who continues side by side. 6 laps to go at Cedar Lake.
I'm telling you, Chambrone really loves what Jason Freeman's doing right now, and he's kind of stinting the run from Don MacArthur and anyone else behind, because he's really trying to force them to pass him on the non-preferred lane. It looks like Don MacArthur spinning around.
Into the infield. Does this bring out a yellow, as it's technically out of harm's way? Doesn't look like the caution will fly. That is a tough break for last week's winner.
But easily, this kind of opens up the door for Nick Chambrone to kind of pull away here. Right now, Jason Freeman is his only competition.
And then a long ways back to Josh Gerlach. The top 2 separated by about 3.5 car lengths, and only 3 laps remain. That last time by, looks like Chambrone a tick faster than Freeman, and he has the preferred line. If Freeman's going to make a move, he's probably going to have to dive bomb the inside line if he can get within striking distance. 2 laps left.
Looks like there's a battle for 3rd here of Josh Gerlach and Thomas Oleski here, and looks like Gerlach just hit the wall. That kind of gives Oleski a little bit of a run on the bottom, but no, that high line still prevails.
White flag gonna fly, this time off turn 4 over the hood of Nicholas Chambrone. He makes his debut here tonight. He's looking to win in his debut race, as he is going to come through the final couple of corners, looks back, sees plenty of daylight between himself and Jason Freeman, and how about this? Master Millwright, win number 1 in the Big Block Series for Nicholas Chambrone.
That's a pretty good record. 1 race, 1 win.
Time to retire, right? Retire on top.
I like to announce my official retirement from.
We talked about, the drivers making their debuts here tonight. Possible drivers that we would see running full-time next season, making statements here tonight against drivers that took the first green flag of the season and have taken every green flag since then on the schedule. Chambrone saying, hey, if I show up next year, I might be a contender for that title.
And that's the big thing. I mean, let's look at the current title fight. And right now, it was definitely kind of a losing day for Kenneth Drake. I mean, this would have been the greatest day for Kenneth Drake to really kind of finish up in that top 3 when Trapper was kind of trapped back behind, per se. But right now, Trapper has the upper hand with the better finish, and obviously, he did win his heat, so he did get the maximum points kind of allotted to him. But you got to be wondering if he was kind of regretting getting that heat win rather than maybe taking a better starting position for the final race.
I think we can safely say that, at least looking back at the last few weeks, this seemed to be the most struggling type of race for Bobby Trapper to work his way up through the field than we've seen in quite a while, partially due to the inability to make passes with everybody running each specific line here in the corners with this tight track, but also the fact we had the big field. I mean, Trapper still, to his credit, finishing up inside of the top 5, but it's kind of one of those where he had to work for it slowly and methodically.
That's the thing. I mean, It was not a piece of cake, but that kind of showed the flaws in his strategy here, where he has been relying on these last few races being extremely clean. A lot of these drivers only running one lane, and that's why he really started making this surge later in the race where, hey, this other lane really started to open up for him and gave him a little bit more potential to kind of make some moves. But earlier in the race, it was three wide and all lanes are packed and kind of forcing him to stay in the preferred lane or kind of get trapped in a non-preferred lane.
Well, next week we may see a number of these drivers make their second start of the season at Knoxville. We'll see if maybe, just maybe, we'll see if Bobby Trapper and Kenneth Drake can close up that points gap with only 4 races left in the season. Let's see if we can talk with our top 3 finishers here tonight. And let's kick things off with third place finisher in his debut race, Josh Gerlach. Hey, Josh, it's Matt and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
I do. How you guys doing tonight?
Yeah, we're doing great. Congrats on a tremendous performance here in your debut here tonight in the TNR Master Millwright Big Block Series. Third place, but man, a big field here tonight. You had that good starting track position, but just how difficult was it to keep that track position with everyone behind you?
And it was tough. There was a lot of speed out there. There about, I think it was like 8 to 10 laps to go. It was a dogfight for like second to sixth, and you had Nick, who started, I think it was like 9th or 10th, come flying by us all, and he really put on a show. Nice drive through the field. It was fun.
Now, Josh, we did see a lot of guys are having some trouble passing here with definitely the track being a little bit smaller, but with Knoxville coming up next week, I mean, with that being about a half-mile track, do you foresee a little bit more passing, a little bit more lanes available for drivers to use?
Yeah, I think so. Like you said, you have a lot more real estate there, and I'm a little biased with Knoxville being about 30 minutes away from me. I love that place. I most likely am not going to be able to make it due to some other obligations, but ran there a couple weeks ago in the big blocks in a different league, and it was a great show. So I think you guys should have a good show next week.
Once again, congratulations on a podium finish here tonight at Cedar Lake. Josh, we're going to give you the opportunity now for some thank you sponsors and shout outs.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. Want to thank Netcode Esports, netcodeshop.com, alwaysraceday.com, plus my team at Dizzy Motorsports. Nick Chambrone, my teammate, had, like I said, a great drive tonight, so happy to see him win if I wasn't able to get it.
That's Josh Gerlach, third place here tonight at Cedar Lake in his second start of the season here in the TNR Master Millwright Big Block Series. Congratulations, Josh, and we look forward to seeing you a couple more times here down the home stretch, see what you can bring to the table in the closing stages of the schedule.
Thanks a lot, guys.
All right, let's see if we can now get our second place finisher here tonight, the pole sitter for the main event, Jason Freeman. Hey, Jason, it's Matt and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Yeah, I got your copy.
All right, man. Well, you took the green flag here tonight, got to the back straightaway, and saw a wall to drivers right. So that was at least a good thing based off of the struggles of last week. But, man, a great run here tonight. You led a majority of this race, but then you had that 0-1 challenge in you. What could you have done to keep him in your rearview mirror to be able to pick up your first win on the season?
Yeah, I knew he was running me down there, but I thought it was going to be hard to get by me once he got there, and kind of drove it down in there. And I tried to get out a little bit, tried to cross him back over. We made a little bit of contact when he slid up, so I wasn't able to. A little bit of contact just killed my momentum, and then he was able to pull away. So it is what it is.
So, Jason, with Knoxville coming up here, obviously you kind of have one of your best finishes of the season earlier in the year at Lanier. I mean, with Knoxville kind of having almost that same layout, just a little bit longer. I mean, do you kind of see yourself having the similar success there?
Yeah, I like Knoxville, and I've been decent there in these cars. I mean, this is my first season actually even running these cars, but running a couple host of races and such. I've always been decent at Knoxville, so hopefully it slicks off pretty quick. I seem to be better there when it slicks off, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see how the track wears out.
Jason, congratulations on a solid performance here tonight. Pole sitter for this race, led a good majority of it, bring it home with a podium finish in second place. We're going to give the opportunity now for some thank you sponsors and shout outs.
Yeah, first off, the guys that put on this league, the Total Nonstop Racing team, check out their Facebook. Also, Brian Rubel, I know he puts a lot of time into this now. This is kind of his deal with the dirt stuff, and I help him out when I can. And I just I started streaming a little bit of asphalt stuff. So if anyone's watching wants to hop over and give a like, share, and a follow to Mason Dixon Racing Esports. So Mason Dixon Racing Esports on Facebook, and thank you all for tuning in.
That's Jason Freeman, second place here tonight at Cedar Lake. Looking forward to see if he can carry this momentum into, as Matt said, an equally similar configured track next week at Knoxville. Best of luck, Jason.
Thank you.
And down to victory lane we go. First race, first win in the TNR Master Millwright Big Block Series. Let's talk with Nick Chambrone. Hey, Nick, it's Matt and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us? We'll give it another go here. Hey, Nick, you got us up here in the booth?
Yeah, I got you. Sorry, I was hitting the wrong button.
Hey, no problem, man. Ben, what a great run for you here tonight. Got mired back deep in the field in your main event starting spot, but made your way up there to the front. How much of an adventure was it with them double wide, 3 wide, and some occasions we saw 4 wide, trying to get yourself front mid-pack up there into that, and I put this in air quotes, clean air?
Oh man, it was wicked back there, especially on those starts and restarts. I got myself mired back there. I had a bad qualifying run. I tapped the wall a little bit and killed my lap, and then in the heat, I got in a little tangle up. But we got in I think I got 4th in the heat, so started from 10th, and I felt like every time I passed a couple guys, the caution came out and I had to give those spots back. But that's dirt track racing.
My apologies, Nick. I got to ask you here, with kind of the cautions, kind of stampering the beginning of the race. Did you find that aiding you any bit, or kind of halting any good run that you had to kind of try and pass Freeman?
Yeah, it actually did help. A couple of those restarts, I was on the bottom, and I think at the beginning of the race, the bottom was a little bit better. And even once we got about the midway point, you could roll that bottom for the first lap and a half, and get those guys on the top just because they didn't have the momentum built up yet. So it ended up helping pick off a guy here and there, and then ended up working out in the end.
Nick, one quick question here for you as well. Obviously we had a number of drivers coming in here tonight that were making their first start on the season. A lot of drivers that had run every race so far on the schedule. So what were the expectations coming into this race? And now that you've won, what's the expectation if you show up next week at Knoxville?
Yeah, well, I just joined up with this league a couple weeks ago and was running their Monday night racing. They do Xfinity cars Monday night, and I'm always a big dirt guy, and I was like, yeah, my buddy Josh, who got 3rd place here tonight, said he was running. I was like, what the heck? I might as well jump in and give it a shot. So I was just coming in for some fun before we have another league race here at 9 o'clock. So I was just coming in for some fun, some practice laps, and heck, I sent it and it worked out. So going forward, I know it looks like I could run top 5 here. I think, good group of guys here, a lot of fast guys racing you hard. So I'll definitely be back again.
Well, congratulations on your first win and your debut here tonight, Nick, here at Cedar Lake. We're going to give the opportunity now for some thank you sponsors and shout outs.
I want to give a shout out to Dizzy Motorsports. It's a team I run for on here online, and Josh Garlic there for helping me out and during practice and things. And want to give a special shout out to my girlfriend Caitlin and my best friend Greg. He just had a baby, so all he's doing is watching the baby, giving her some food, and watching some iRacing when he has some free time.
That is Nick Chambrone. He's your winner here tonight at Cedar Lake in his debut race. Congratulations, Nick. Go enjoy this victory, and we look forward to seeing how you can build off this with just a handful of races left on the schedule.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Thanks for the broadcast. I was watching a little bit there after I finished up, and it looks awesome. So thank you so much for doing this.
And as another race is in the books, another different winner here this season as well, Matt. Do we kind of say that down this home stretch, while there may not be a whole lot to talk about for the championship, unless Drake's able to mount a major comeback in these final few races, do we kind of look at the storyline of new blood for possibly next season?
Obviously, new blood is kind of one of the main things that I'm kind of looking at here, where it's like, listen, some of these new guys, they have it. Just look at some of the speed out of these guys. But obviously, Trapper's not perfect, and he is leaving doors open for Kenneth Drake to kind of capitalize on. But just unfortunately, Drake isn't really pouncing on them as well as he should be. And Jason Freeman and Billy Thornton are really kind of just too far out unless they really just kind of go on a tear here.
We've got that double points race that's going to be coming up in the season finale when these drivers take to the dirt track at Charlotte. But we saw back in the other double points race at Weed Sport, Bobby Trapper was able to counter Kenneth Drake there. So we'll see if Bobby Trapper can keep up this consistency. He may not have a race-winning car week after week, but he certainly is able to get himself those heat points and able to finish up there high in the finishing results, getting a 5th place here tonight in a rather clustered race at Cedar Lake. But it's Nicholas Chambrone, your winner here tonight in his debut in the TNR Master Millwright Big Block Series. Next week, these drivers will take to Knoxville Raceway, a bigger, wider racetrack, and we'll see if we're going to see just as crazy restart racing there as we had here tonight. Matt, it's been a great one here. Appreciate you joining me in the booth.
Always appreciate calling these races. Always a blast.
Thanks everyone that tuned in tonight. If you haven't had your fill of racing here this evening, be sure to tune in just a few moments as Flatout Racing Network will bring you coverage of the second road course stop of the season for the G-Force Sim Racing Vintage Clothing Cup Series. They're going to be at Sonoma, green flag scheduled to fly in just about 10 minutes. So we will be heading out there to the West Coast to bring you that action. For Matthew Rodriguez, I'm Seth Cole. We'll see you guys in just a little bit here as you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of the Flatout Racing Network.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of Flatout Racing Network and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Flatout Racing Network and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. Flatout Racing Network would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.